heavy metal vinyl. And I have two dogs, both named Root and Sudo, or Sudo is what I call them. So, all right. So let's get started. So what is VMware vCloud Foundation Operations? Well, it was originally brought in in VMware as vCenter Operations Management Suite, or VOM. That eventually got renamed to VMware vRealize. We had that name for quite a few years. Then VMware decided they're going to rebrand that suite, call it VMware Aria. So now it was VMware Aria Operations. And now, again, with the purchase of VMware by Broadcom, they've now rebranded everything under the VCF suite. So now it's VMware VCF Operations. And how do you get VCF Operations? Well, unfortunately, you can't buy it separately anymore. You're actually going to be needing to have two different licenses with your VMware license. It'll either come with your VMware Cloud Foundation license, and that will come with the full VMware VCF suite, a VCF operations suite. So it'll come with automation, operations, network insight, log insight. Whereas if you were to purchase your VCF or get your VCF operations through VMware vSphere Foundation, that's a lower SKU, and that will only include VMware VCF operations and uh, VMware Network Insight and the Aria Suite Lifecycle Manager. So let's go into it. I don't have many slides. I want to do a hands-on demo to show everybody. So hopefully this all works out. You know how well live demos always go. So let me go ahead and stop sharing. Let's try to share this. Okay. Are you able to see my screen? All right. Thanks, Joe.
Yes, we can see that. Thanks,
Great.
Ryan.
Cool. All right. So a little bit about my environment. This is my IVOXY lab environment. We have our compute, which is where I run a lot of my student workloads when we do the classes. And we also have a management cluster. So each cluster has 4 hosts backed by either Pure or in the management section, we have vSAN available for our management. All right. And then one thing that I want to talk about a little bit today is Aria Suite Lifecycle. So Aria Suite Lifecycle is included in both of the VCF and the VVF licensing. And what this allows you to do is a few things. So I can deploy Aria environments from this tool. So if I go to environments, I deployed Aria automation, operations for logs, and Aria operations directly from this tool. And what's really great is I could actually patch my products here. So if I were to go to patch history, we could see that I deployed a patch, a hot fix on the April 3rd against this system with different hot fixes. So this hot fix included some security patches. I didn't have to do this directly on the Aria operations appliance. I did it directly from here, fully automated, and it worked really great. So I could view details here about automation, logs, or operations. And this is where I did the patch. So patch, install a patch, or I could view the history here again.
Ryan, if I could just ask you, we have a question. You mentioned the environment that you created in our lab. Is vSAN required in every case when you are deploying your VVF or your VCF?
No. So vSAN's only included in the VCF licensing, and we have this deployed as the best practice for VMware for deploying a VCF cluster. That's why we have the two separate clusters with the management backed by vSAN, and that's kind of a way that VMware recommends you deploy VCF. So it's not a requirement though. So if you want to back all of your management by, shared storage like a Pure or Nimble, that's definitely not an issue.
Thank you,
All right.
Ryan.
Yeah, no problem. And from here, we could also see the different requests that I did. So here's the product patch install, and this is the automation way of doing it. And we can see that it took approximately, well, it took literally 29 minutes and 30 seconds to patch that Aria operations. That was all hands off. I just applied the patch and it was fully automated for me. We could also manage certificates and licenses here. I'm not going to show you my licenses because you could see them, but I could manage all of my licenses for my infrastructure here from this tool. So it's a really great tool. It's included with both of your licenses. It takes a little bit to set up, but once you get it up and running, it makes managing the Aria suite or the VCF Operations suite a little bit easier. All right. Now, any questions so far on that? Yeah, Alex, you raised your hand. If you could put that in Q&A or in the chat. Okay. So Bud says Broadcom will use tokens to download patch updates on April 26. Will this change anything in the process that I'm showing? So no, that won't actually change anything. The way that the Aria Suite lifecycle works is you actually upload the patches to the appliance. So for example, for the product support packs, these are ways for the Aria Suite to know which versions uh, of the Aria Suite that the lifecycle manager supports, for example. So we can see that this one will support all the way up to 8.18.1, 8.18.3 for Aria operations for logs, 8.18.3 for Aria operations. So those are all done through here. Kenny asks, did the Aria Suite lifecycle upgrade OS on appliances? It will upgrade the actual appliances. So if there were a new version of any part of the Aria suite, I'm going to call it Aria. I'm not going to call it VCF Operations just because it's branded here as Aria and a little bit easier. So, but yeah, we could easily do that upgrade through the environments setting here. We could just trigger an upgrade. And we could also go through the upgrade planner. So if there were newer releases, I could say that I want to upgrade to the 8.18.4 or the 8.19, for example. And that would be, we would go through this, generate an upgrade plan. And obviously they're on the target versions. But if there were, it would tell me which releases I would need to either download and stuff like that, and what impacts it may have in my environment for the upgrade. So it's a really cool tool. It is quite a pain to set up, as somebody did mention in the Q&A. I will absolutely agree with you on that.
We have another question, Ryan.
Yeah.
Are the PSP and patches now linked back from LCM directly to Broadcom for download, or does the customer need to download and upload them into LCM Lifecycle Manager?
So unfortunately, we still need to download and upload them into Lifecycle Manager. I'm hoping that functionality comes back because it made it quite a bit easier. Aria Suite Lifecycle is part of Aria of VCF and VMware vSphere Foundation. So if you have VMware Cloud Foundation or vSphere Foundation, this is included. And this is separate from VCF. So Lifecycle Manager is a different actual different appliance than Aria. So I have my infrastructure Aria. So I have here's the Lifecycle Manager appliance, 2 CPUs, 6 gigs of RAM, Identity Manager, Aria Operations, Login Site, and Aria Automation. Okay. All right. So on to Aria Operations, the main focus of this webinar. So this is Aria Operations. This is the main interface. So once you log in, this is what you'll see. Here is the overview. And this is just a quick overview of my configuration here. So this is my lab. I have one VMware Cloud connected and one vCenter. So it's denoting that the cloud is a local cloud, not an Azure or AWS or anything like that. We have a little bit view of the inventory. So I have one vCenter server, one data center, 2 clusters, 8 hosts, 167 VMs, 23 data stores, et cetera, et cetera. And I could drill into that, click view inventory, and I could get a little bit more information. And this brings us to the inventory tab. And this inventory tab is all about different objects. So inside of our operations, everything here is essentially going to be an object. So if I were to say expand my NSX, let's look at NSX world, and we could view some information here about NSX. So NSX is currently running. I have one instance of NSX and it's currently up and running. If I go to vCenter, let's go to data center. We could expand any of these and I could get some information. So here's a folder of VMs, or actually a network. And all of these VMs are connected to this network, and we could get information about any one of these VMs as we expand into it. And we could even connect to maybe the data store. If there's issues going on with the data store, we could even see that, oh, this one's connected to maybe multiple data stores, and one of the data stores is having an issue, for example. Another thing that we can do is we could view different findings, such as different information. So these are different diagnostics that it found. And here are a couple of security issues that I need to address in my environment. One of these is a CVE on one of my ESX hosts, and one of them is a CVE on my Aria automation. So I need to upgrade my Aria automation, and I'll do that here through the Lifecycle Manager. So everything's very interconnected. You can click around all throughout the environment, get information. We could also view configuration drifts. So we can see that on our vCenter, our ESX hosts. Currently, I don't have everything configured just yet, but once I have that fully set up, I could see that maybe a network setting on one of my hosts is different. It'll see that drift and report that to me, and I can make that modification to change it back. Another thing that is great here is I could actually view certificates of my environment here. So if I click on view certificates, I could see what certificates are currently in use in my environment. And currently I only have my Aria suite configured for that because they're deployed with my Lifecycle Manager. Lifecycle Manager is providing a wildcard self-sign. Anonymous attendee asks, can you recommend any good walkthrough resources regarding setup and configuration? The Broadcom documentation's all over the place. And I agree with you on that. It is completely all over the place. It's a bit difficult to use. not a ton of resources. There's a few videos out on YouTube, but a lot of those are out of date sometimes because that VMware's been upgrading these a bit and changing quite a bit once Broadcom purchased VMware. I could view workload capacity here. And if there are any alerts, I could drill into any of these alerts if I wanted to. So just hover over here. We can see that I have 203 warnings, 9 critical alerts, for example. We could also view the total cost of ownership for all of these. So this is the approximate cost of ownership of my running my cluster, or my 2 clusters, I should say. I could also have some potential savings. I have 93 powered off VMs, 4 idle VMs, 21 snapshots, 219 orphan disks. So those are potential resources that I could recoup. I could delete them off of my infrastructure and bring in more workload, for example. Or maybe this is actual, these snapshots are literally causing us to use too much space. We could go ahead and clean that out with this tool. We could view our sustainability, and I put in some information here about how that we are hydropowered, so that helps with the green, et cetera, et cetera. What your carbon footprint it is, and stuff like that. Your green score trend, and how you can potentially cut back on your usage if that's a thing that you would like to do. And another thing that it does is that you can have compliance. You could view compliance. So some of these could be an actual compliance. It could be configuration guidelines, or it could even be a CIS standard, DISA standard, HIPAA compliance. So if I click on HIPAA compliance, I could go ahead and activate that. And the way that Aria Operations works is, since it's AI ML, it can view all of that to make sure that your infrastructure is configured properly, so that you're not maybe leaking those that patient data, which would then cause you to be uncompliant with HIPAA regulations. So next we have the Launchpad. So these are all of the different settings that Aria Operations can view. So we have the pillars of operations. We have observability, capacity, cost, compliance, and sustainability. So observability will include your alerts, dashboards, reports, the workbench, log analysis if you have a log aggregation tool. So I have Aria Operations for Logs connected here. We could view diagnostics, and we could even view some application information in here. And I'll go over that here in a bit. We could also view applications. So in here, I have my business applications. I have my Aria Omnissa Horizon connected in here. And we could see my 2 connection servers and my database. So it views information here about it. And I could click on here and I could get a little bit more information if I really needed to. Or I could even view other applications here in my environment, such as maybe my Active Directory. Here's my 2 domain controllers showing that everything's connected and running, or my login site, my vCenter, my vSAN, Aria Operations, vRealize Operations, for example. So view all of these information, what all is connected to this. And all of this I did not configure myself. The applications are actually able to do a self-discovery in here. So if you have an updated VMware tools, you are able to collect that information. And these are the different services that are supported with Aria operations for monitoring these applications. So we have Active Directory, Tomcat, DB2, uh, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, vCenter, Horizon, etc., are all available to be monitored here within Aria operations. We can pull in different plugins that can also help you monitor different applications. Next, we could view information about the infrastructure. So if I click on vSphere, I could get a breakdown of different categories that I could view here. So I could view my compute equipment. So here's my compute inventory, network inventory, and then here's the redistributed switches down here. And I could click on any of these and I could get a little bit more information. So if I click on here, we could see that this view now updates this, and I could view some information about this specific distributed port group. So one thing is, I have block override allowed is true, for example. So different settings that you could view on each of these. And these are all set up for my classes, for example.
Ryan, I think this is related to what you're showing us right now. We have a question from one of our guests. Can this tool also discover network equipment? I see you've got V switches on there, but would it be able to discover any other networking equipment?
Yeah, you're talking like a Cisco switch or something like that. It can do that through SNMP discovery, applications. So we can do that through SNMP. And there's other agents that we could use. So for example, we could deploy a telegraph agent on systems that may not support like the VMware tools, and that would bring in other information. As far as like actual network equipment, I'm not totally sure that it could do that.
Okay, and then Tim followed up with a question that asks whether you need an agent deployed for some applications.
Yes. Yeah, and this would be the telegraph agent here.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So we could view other information about our infrastructure here. I could also view some information. So I have VMware Cloud Foundation. So I could view my costs, operations. Actually, I take that back. I don't have any VMware Cloud. So that's if I were using that. So my cloud is actually just vCenter. All right. And then there's a limited amount of automation that I could do with Aria operations. If you wanted to do more actual automation, you would have to use VMware Aria automation. But we could just add some jobs here to reclaim space. Maybe if snapshots are older than, 10 days, let's go ahead and delete those snapshots, for example. Have that on a recurring basis. And there's different plugins we can bring in and other repositories that we could add. So for example, here's the HIPAA compliance, ISO compliance, PCI compliance, FISMA, DISA. Here's ARIA operations for networks. So if I had ARIA operations for networks, that actually may be able to pull in the networking information, and this would be able to link it to the ARIA operations for networks. Okay, so here in the inventory view, again, this is where we could get some information about either our hosts. So if I click on one of the hosts, I could get information here. So we can see that my host is a Cisco UCSC C220 M5SX. The capacity remaining, so it's estimating my remaining capacity is 77%. So right now I'm assuming I'm 23% utilization CPU on there. Yeah. on this specific device. I could view metrics here. And this could be a little bit more granular as far as what you may see inside of vCenter, for example. So here's the cost for the monthly, MTD, server cost, for example. We could view some configuration. You know, is this a failover host? Yes, no, binary type thing, and get some more information about that. We could also expand out to data stores. So here's one of the management data stores. We could get some information about that. We could view the metrics. We could even view logs here. Oh, maybe not for this one. Let's go to the host. And there may not be anything going on in that cluster. It's kind of set up. We could also see alerts. So here, this specific host is alerting against a security configuration guideline. And this is a fairly secure setting. So I actually don't want to enable this in my environment, mostly because it's a lab. I need it to be fairly unrestricted. We can view the topology. So we can see what clusters it's connected to and what data stores and virtual machines are connected to it. For example, we see it just changes around. So Kenny asked, is this a greenfield environment? This is not a greenfield environment. This is a brownfield environment. This is, yeah, my environment's been running for many years now. I've gone through several upgrades. We could view capacity. So one thing that Aria Operations will do is it'll, using the AI ML models that it has, that it will extrapolate the data that it has and see how many how long it may estimate for you to run out of space. Currently in my environment, it's not very utilized. So if I look at my hosts here, you know, I'm not using it very much. So right now it's saying that my capacity is longer than 1 year remaining until CPU demand runs out, for example. And I could view that for memory and disk usage also. I could view compliance information. So these are different compliances that I'm doing. So this is the security configuration, which also ties into that alerts. vSAN's completely compliant. I don't have vSAN in this environment, so that's probably why. So let me pick a host here. We can see that, yeah, this host is not currently compliant because I don't have vSAN encryption enabled. And we could get some detailed information about this, and we could see what objects are being collected on this and what the collection status is. So for example, this NSXT manager, I'm not fully receiving data on one of these on this VM, for example. And that may be because it's in a different network, or it could be something that's configured with one of the other labs projects. So, yep. Another thing we could do is we could pull in diagnostics. So for example, if I'm having issues with one of my hosts, I could search for any objects in here. So I could search for ESXi. I'll just pick O2, and then it pulls us into the inventory view of that specific via host. And then I could just click on the troubleshoot here, and I could get information as far as events, property changes, anomalous metrics. So for example, this VM, the file utilization was dropped from 95 to 90%. That's because I deleted some VM files on this VM, for example, and it's monitoring all that information. So all of that's really great. So this is the last 6 hours. I could change that metric to everything that happened today. Or I could even go further back and say, maybe information about the last week. And we can see there's some information here. So this edge core VM's having some weird anomalous info. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. It's a sawtooth wave. Interesting. All right. So get some information about that. We could pull in the alerts, like I mentioned. So these are all of the alerts coming from my vSphere environment. So here's, for example, this VM had a performance issue that it had a packets got dropped in the middle of working on something. So I could click on that and view some information about this specific VM. We have one critical alarm, for example. We could even get data. So here's some vSphere metadata. All of these are backed up by my rubric. So it adds that metadata for me. And we can troubleshoot this, for example. So I have my Aria operations connected to my log insight, and my log insight is monitoring my entire VMware environment. So I could get information not just about my VMware host, but I also have my VMware Horizon, Omnissa Horizon, connected into here, so I could also view some information. But what I could do is I could just double click on any of these times, and I could expand this timestamp, and I could see information here in the log about that, about this specific warning, and it breaks it down for me. Saying, all right, I'm getting this from the auto.ivoxy.net host name. And this is something about, I'm not exactly sure, but it's a warning about something in this environment. I'll skip over VCF Appliances Health. That's been deprecated. So one thing that's great in Aria Operations is that it has dashboards available to you. So for example, here is a vSphere network inventory dashboard that I showed you earlier, or the compute. But there's also pre-created dashboards available to us. So we have availability dashboards, configuration, inventory, performance, capacity, and cost. So if I expand the availability, I could click on maybe vSphere availability, and that dashboard is going to be updated. So if I want to know information about my management cluster, I'll go ahead and click on that. And as you can see, when I clicked on the management, I could get information here about these ESX servers. And as I click deeper and deeper, these other fields will also update in the different parts of the dashboard. And I could get some other information about maybe the port groups, et cetera, for these. Another one would be network configuration, for example. So here's the network configuration. Here are some settings that may have to be set. So let me go ahead and select this management. And we could see some information about this. So this DVS1G management's connected to all these hosts. These are the different port groups and VMs that are on that selected switch, for example. We could also create our own dashboards. So for example, I could grab the cluster capacity, and let's go ahead and I could export this, or I could create a copy. I could create my own dashboard here and pull in the different metrics. So maybe I want to drag my alert list here with a summary view. And if I were to create interactions, I could create interactions here. And if I click on here, this should maybe work. I may have to click further down. But we could link these different widgets together. So if I were to edit one of these widgets, or one of these, so let's do cluster capacity. I could show you how these are all linked together. Oh, it's not rendering. That's not ideal. There we go. So we could see that when you create these dashboards, they could all be linked together, or they could be standalone as we go through. So if I were to click on this cluster's capacity, if I click on anything in here, it's going to update information on each and every one of these dashboards. And then another thing that's really cool about this is we could share this dashboard. So for example, we could publish a URL and set it to expire after a day. If I paste that URL in, it brings us directly to this dashboard. We don't have to log in or anything. Maybe that was not a good one, for example. So, but we could send that out to maybe your management team, your C-level team, create dashboards directly for your help desk, and stuff like that.
We have a great question I wanted to bring up since you're talking about the dashboard. In a situation where you've got customers with distributed locations and they will
Mhm.
have remote servers in those branch offices. So say those remote servers are using VVF,
Mhm.
but the customer has VCF. So in a mixed environment like that, can the VV host be incorporated into the dashboard, or will they be excluded because it's only looking for the VCF platform?
No, so this would cover anything that's licensed VVF and above. And actually, so if you have remote sites, you could deploy this Aria operations at your main site, so your main data center, and then you could deploy a collector out to the remote sites that could then feed information directly into the Aria operation, so you don't have to run this in every single environment.
That's great. Thank you,
Mhm.
Ryan.
We have different views that we can view here um, in the Aria operations. So maybe the ESXi inventory. Uh, so it's a little bit of information. We could see what preview source is. For example, pull in different information about that. VM availability. So we could see some information about our VMs. So we could see that these guest tools aren't running because these VMs are actually powered off. So let's go to the third page, and we can see that, hey, these do have guest tools running. It's been up 100% of the time. No services are found on that specific VM. Another thing that Aria operations can do is it can create reports, and it has all of these canned reports in here, but you could also create your own reports. So for example, let's take a look at my cluster cost report. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and I want it to go against my entire, actually, I'll grab entire vSphere world, and this is running. So I'll go and click on generate a report. We're waiting for it. Okay, so it's already been created. So it gives us a couple options. We could either view the PDF or a CSV. So I'll go ahead and view the PDF, and we could just get a quick report of my total cost for my environment. So I have my VOXY lab, my management cluster, and we could have an estimation of what it's costing me per month. And these costs are all provided from VMware. So it downloads that, I think, every quarter. It updates that cost analysis information. And we could view that for any of these. So for example, let's do the inventory report vCenter. And let's go ahead and get a report of my undersized virtual machines. So it's generating those reports. We'll come back here. Okay. So I could view the PDFs on these, and this will give us a little bit more information about our environment, for example. So each one of these reports is a little bit different, as you could see. And here's my undersized VMs report. All of this can be modified as far as creating the boilerplate information. So we can see that, hey, it's saying that my Bitwarden's a little bit undersized. It has 2 CPUs, but it's not recommending any vCPUs to add. But it does recommending adding an additional 1 gigabyte to my 4 gigabytes that I have for that specific VM. So that's one thing that we could easily just modify, and I'll show you that here in a bit. All right, applications. So I talked about this a little bit. We could view information about these applications. These are the different services. So for example, on my VDI CS2, I enabled the service monitoring, and I have it set to monitor the VMware view server information, which is how I'm viewing the information about my actual Horizon application. Compliance, so we can view compliance information about our environment, depending on the specific guidelines, and we could add custom compliance, or if there is an existing benchmark, you could import those in from either from shared sources. Your insurance company may have some type of compliance also. Configuration drifts, so I can use configuration drifts in my environment to make sure that everything's currently set as it should be. If those changes happen, then I could remediate those changes. We could view audit information. So this is anything that may have happened administratively in our environment. We could view that. Here's different configurations that I could do for the Aria operations. So like cost drivers, what is that? What is the monthly expense? And we could make a little bit of modification to these. So we could see that it's pulling in the information, and I could say that cost per server was about, that. I didn't add anything. It just brought that in automatically. But if you have hard numbers, you could actually fill that in and get a little bit more granular as far as the cost of your infrastructure. Next is capacity. And this is a really great tool that allows you to say what the potential running rate is of your environment. So this is my internet data center. And we can see that I mentioned this earlier, my 2 clusters, I could view information, see when I will potentially run out of space. And right now it's saying I have greater than 1 year remaining. So I'm not coming up to that capacity. Reclaim. So here's something that we could do. We could also reclaim resources. So we could see that currently I could potentially save $2,722 a month by reclaiming some VMs and disks. So I have 118 VMs, 219 orphan disks that I could clean up. And this will tell us what we could do. So apparently I have a terabyte of VMs that I could clean up here on my management cluster. So this is my old vCenter, my test domain controller, another old test vCenter, and an old vRealize operations instance. Or these are the other powered off VMs that I could also clean up. Obviously, I could select these, schedule an action, and I want to say do this, and then I could either have that deleted at a specific time, for example. I could view my idle VMs. So which ones are being idle. So right now I have 5 vCPUs and 4 gigabytes of RAM and 137 gigabytes of space that I could potentially reclaim because these VMs just aren't running enough. Same with snapshots here. So I have 1.31 terabytes of snapshots on my VMs here in my IVOXY lab. A lot of these are, my student template and stuff like that. So that's why I have a lot. So my TrueNAS VM apparently has 800 gigabytes of reclaimable disk space that I could reclaim. Next, we have right sizing. So this is either downsizing or upsizing different VMs in your environment. Since Aria Operations is always looking at your environment, at your VMs, at your hosts and everything, it's seeing that maybe this CPU or this VMs running into CPU contention. So if I click on this, I could get some information about that. But I could also go with the recommendation of adding VMs. So I could say I could follow the recommendation of having Aria Operations power off this VM, add 2 CPUs and 2 gigs of RAM, and power it back on for me automatically. And that's one thing we can do as far as your oversized, or actually this is reduction. So it's going to reduce it by 2 CPUs and reduce it by 2 gigs. And then here for the undersized VMs, we have the same way, just we're going to add. So this one is recommending that we add 1 gigabyte of RAM to this specific VM, probably because it's getting close to the RAM usage, for example. We get a little bit of information about how much we could reclaim or upsize here per cluster. Next, we have workload placement. So if we have multiple clusters in our environment, we could take a look at our workloads and say, oh, actually, maybe these need to be optimized so that the heavier usage VMs need to go to this cluster that has, more resources available to it, for example. It'll tell us if it's optimized or not. So currently my environment's optimized. I do have it set to the default, which is moderate. And we could change that to either be more aggressive, for example, or less aggressive, for example. Another thing that you could do is a what if analysis. So since this is always looking at your environment, you could do some infrastructure planning. So for example, I want to add some hosts to my environment. Let's go through this infrastructure planner. We can do that. We want to say this will be on my VOXY lab data center with my VOXY lab. Let's do select a server. I have one. And I want to add 4 servers. We'll run that scenario. And in a year, what would that scenario entail? So we'll see that my remaining time would be greater than 1 year. I could commit that scenario, for example, or I could even do a remove host scenario. Select the data center, select server, and I want to remove 2 servers. What will that look like in my environment? And it'll still be remaining a year, but we're going to be cutting it close in both the CPU demand and memory demand. Even though we're at our current rate of growth, and VMware is estimating a rate of growth for each one. So we could also go into cost. So we could view overview of the cost of ownership of each of our environments. And we could even do some dashboards to do show back VM costs. So for example, if you're charging your different groups in your environment cost for running a server, we could actually do that information here. So we could say that, this specific VM, let's do, let me get a better one. These are all templates. All right, here's my SCSI. Let's do that. Okay, So we can see that currently this VM is expected to be um, about $45 per month to run uh, for this specific VM. And then we could also do cost analysis here and price analysis, and we could even check our subscriptions. I know we're getting close on time. Connie, do we have any other questions?
No, we do not. Thanks, Ryan.
Okay. All right. And that's a quick overview about Aria operations. So if anybody has any questions. Oh, okay. So anonymous attendee asks, how would you identify different owners of VMs for billing? Um, I would probably do that based on a tag. If you tag those VMs, you could say that this VM maybe belong to the HR team, for example. Um, unless you have like a different naming scheme for them, then you could probably create like a filter, would be my guess. This would be, yeah, pulling in vCenter tags, Kenny. All right. So stop my share and let me get back to PowerPoint real quick. All right, share. Sorry. Okay.
Ryan, can you share how they would change the cost basis if they wanted to use their own data?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let me get back to that. So sorry, I forgot where that specifically was. I showed it earlier. I apologize. Okay, here it is. Cost drivers. For example, labor. Labor is an actual cost. So what would be the actual cost that you estimate for these specific things? We could easily do that. So all of that can be modified as far as these different cost drivers. So your facilities will have a cost, for your power, for your storage, for all of that would be here. So all of these can be created. You could even import an Excel spreadsheet if you have that. You could view cluster costs. And if you have cloud providers, you could add in that billing information here, for example. And then you'd pull in the rate card from that specific provider.
So it sounds like they could get very granular then
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that.
Mhm. Yep, because everybody's hosts are, different priced. Maybe you have GPUs, and that's going to bring the cost of your servers up quite a bit, for example. All right. Yeah, if there are any other questions, please let me know. All right. To the PowerPoint. All right. Yeah, thanks for everybody hopping on. Let's keep in touch. Here's my email and my LinkedIn address. We do have a podcast called Data Center Therapy, hosted by two of the consultants here at IVOXY, Matt Yeti and Matt Cozzolino. I've been a guest a few times on the podcast. And I do have a VMware Cloud Operations class coming up next month. Dates are going to be from May 20 through the 22nd, and I'll have office hours. So if anybody has any questions on the last day, I'll be available to help with answering any questions that any students may have. You'll have hands-on troubleshooting. We'll actually deploy Aria operations and get some hands-on with that. We'll create custom dashboards. We'll create troubleshooting scenarios. We'll deploy some VMs, get some information about those VMs. We'll correlate log information to see if there's any other information that we could glean as far as that.
One thing, Ryan, do you have
Yes.
access to the version 9 beta yet? Have you seen that in pre-release?
Not yet. I actually do want to deploy that. And as soon as V9's out, I may upgrade the entire lab to that. I am gonna try and run it nested first to see how it works, since we have some capacity to run stuff nested.
Great. So I would say, Tim, stay in close touch with us because we're going to be on top of that, and
Yep.
we'd love to help you with that.
Yeah, it's just a few months away. So yeah, we'll see. And it's going to be a big change for sure. Right. And last slide. So Connie?
Yeah. So thank you again so much to everybody for attending today. We've been so honored to have you as our guest and talking a little bit more about the operations feature that you get with vSphere Foundation and VMware Cloud Foundation. So what we wanted to extend to everybody who attended today is an early bird offer for that hands-on class that Ryan was just talking about. So for the first 10 people who register and attend the class, you'll get a free Meta Quest 3 virtual reality headset. Super cool thing. I wish I had one. I might have to attend the class. But use the code FREEVR when you register for the class. And I'm going to drop a link into the chat. So the first people that want to jump on that, pardon me, I'm searching for it. The people that want to jump onto that can go ahead and do that today if you'd like. But keep in mind that on this landing page, remember to enter the offer code of FREEVR so that when you attend the class, we can go ahead and send that out to you. So thank you once again to everybody who joined us today. We look forward to working with you on deployment of your VCF or VVF platform, help you configure your operations tool that you get, and helping you with any of your other VMware or infrastructure questions. And we look forward to seeing you in class if that's on your agenda. So thank you again for today. And please be in touch with your account manager if there's anything that we can do to assist you after this. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.